parents of the 1950s were, I think, the most unusual generation of the 20th century. These are the people who had grown up in the Depression. They had experienced real tough times when they were children and when they were teenagers. And then World War II hit, as many of them were just reaching adulthood, and they had the trauma of the war. And then, after all that, they reached the 1950s at a time when the U.S. was tremendously prosperous, when the economy was booming as we've never seen it before. And I think they reacted to that prosperity, and I think they reacted strongly to all of the trauma of the Depression and the war by turning inward a bit, by marrying young, by emphasizing home and family.
It was a perfect setting in which the youth culture, in a certain sense, could blossom. Life in the suburbs was organized around the kids again. They were the center of attention, endless round of Little League games and PTA meetings, etc. So it was in the suburbs, in a certain sense, that this message about the importance and the uniqueness and the generational potency associated with these kids.
In the average American family today, children are the object of more concentrated thought and concern than the young of any previous generation. For out of an increasing understanding of child psychology has come an awareness that children are real people with individual personalities which must be respected and encouraged.
Now here's a major seed of the 60s. Because of their profoundly different life experiences, kids had trouble understanding why their fathers worked so hard. The way many of them saw it, their fathers were engaging in the single-minded pursuit of material comforts.
My dad was always above board in all his business dealings, but I would say money and getting ahead and making a lot of bucks was his goal. And I think what it was Dad meant well. Dad wanted to love us, but Dad was so busy at work. He would work till 2, 3 in the morning doing artwork for the business. He'd get up early and be gone. I hardly ever saw him.
American privileges of life. Reducing the family needs, as well as by spending, for she spends to save. Women often have the deciding voice in whatever we come to buy. They offer her the romance, the adventure of choosing from foods gathered from the 4 corners of America, and indeed from all the world.
What does International Women's Year mean to you?
I don't know, it doesn't worry me. It don't have any effect, you know, I don't sort of think about it. Do you?
I don't take interest in women's lib, it doesn't worry me at all, I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
I'd rather be the way I am. I like to be under my husband's thumb.
I reckon the man should wear the pants, you know. He should sort of be the boss in the family, you know. Sort of, well, I'd rather him go out to work and earn the money than me go out and earn the money and look after the kids, you know, but I sort of just don't believe in it.
What does International Women's Year mean to you?
Nothing.
Nothing at all?
Nothing.
Has women's liberation affected your life at all?
No. I don't believe in it.
Why not?
I don't know. I've got no opinions on it.
Have you resisted it?
No.
Have you ever read anything about women's liberation?
No.
I think possibly I'm like a lot of women and depend a lot on a husband, you know, on the male race, I guess.
And I consider a liberated woman is a woman who does what she wants to do, thinks for herself, lives as she wishes, and is not dominated by male thinking. Also, particularly, of course, a woman in industry earning as much as a man.
But do you think women's liberation is a good thing?
I'm very sceptical about some of the extremes it's carried to. I think women are in great danger of being dominated by women, being told to liberate themselves by doing what other women want them to do. That to me is a great danger, the whole scheme.
Will you be doing anything to participate in International Women's Year?
Not particularly, because I think that
and quiet reflection. Not so this weekend, for as believers gathered in St. Peter's Square to hear the Pope's weekly Angelus prayer, this happened. 4 women stripped off despite the freezing temperatures to reveal the words "In Gay We Trust" painted across their naked chests as they screamed for the Pope to shut up. The raucous display was the latest protest by Ukrainian feminist group Femin against the Catholic Church's stance against gay marriage and adoption. And while most of the congregation looked on in stunned silence, it all became too much for one elderly lady. She decided to take the law into her own hands, armed with nothing but her trusty umbrella.
Prime Minister was the target of a protest by women's rights group Femin during his visit to a Hanover trade fair. The Kremlin has called for the demonstrators to be punished, but the German Chancellor...
You are famously a naked feminist, where you sort of use your body as a sort of protest. I suppose it's kind of part artwork, part protest, part sort of challenge to people. Why do you do that?
So society has a problem with women's bodies, and I'm fighting back with the full force of my body and my brain. Across the world, women's bodily freedoms are under threat, and in fact, it's affecting women's freedoms more. I'm a tiny woman. I'm less than 5 foot tall. I'm no threat to... culture. We see, for example, virginity pledges, modesty ponchos, chastity balls, and with it a whole movement to deprive women of access to birth control and abortion.
Studies by the Guttmacher Institute, 1 in 4 women will have an abortion by the age of 45, some even crossing state lines to do so.
Imagine waking up during the night, pushing open the door to your kid's room, and finding your 15-year-old daughter in bed in her underwear with 3 men. Now, how about adding this to the picture? Your other daughter, your 6-year-old daughter, is asleep right next to her while all this. That's exactly what happened to Viola with her daughter Destiny, and Viola says that that's just the start of Destiny's promiscuous behavior. Viola believes her daughter has had sex with 50 men. She's even heard she prefers to sleep with older men. Now, Destiny has already been pregnant once, has already contracted an STD.
She told me that she slept with 1 boy. That's only because she was pregnant, so she couldn't lie about that.
How many boys do you think she's been sleeping with?
I think she's been with over 50 men.
For as long as Jasmine can remember, she always felt like a black sheep in her family. You see, Amanda and her ex, Eddie, have 4 children together, including Jasmine. But while Eddie accepts the other 3 children, he is convinced that Jasmine is not his biological daughter. When it comes to Jasmine, Eddie, you are not.
With during the window of time your daughter was conceived? 4 different guys. And when it comes to 19-year-old Sierra Sloan, it has been determined by this court. Ryder, you are not the father. Mr. Wheat, you are not